As part of the third generation of football's most famous family, Arch Manning became the most sought-after recruit in college football history. One school wanted him so badly that they spent over $280,000 on a 2-day recruiting visit. But is all the hype surrounding Arch warranted, or is it nothing more than the product of his last name? While everybody associates the Mannings with football, their family actually has a strict ban on playing the sport at a young age. The steward of the family, Arch's grandfather and former NFL quarterback Archie Manning, decided that none of his sons would be allowed to play tackle football until it was offered in school.
I wouldn't let them play tackle football, so they had to wait till junior high to play football.
And even with all the advancements in player safety over the years, Arch's dad, Cooper, refused to make an exception for him. So up until middle school, Arch was only allowed to play flag football. It's fair to question whether this decision would stunt his development as a player. But football is in Arch's blood. He attended the same school as both of his uncles, Isidore Newman, a prestigious prep school in New Orleans. By the spring of his 8th grade year, Arch was already practicing with the varsity team. A football prodigy from the start, him being out there at such a young age was not just a publicity stunt or a sign of respect to the Mannings. Newman's head coach, Nelson Stewart, even said, "As Arch started here in middle school, I think everybody's goal has been to just give him as normal a life as we can." But it was immediately clear that he belonged on the field, regardless of his age or last name. In fact, Stewart still remembers the first time Arch took a snap with the first team offense. On that play, Arch noticed that the defense was shifting from a cover 3 scheme with corners and safeties protecting the deep thirds of the field to cover 1, where all but a safety were playing man-to-man. Arch checked at the line of scrimmage, adjusted the play, and fired a 50-yard touchdown pass. This level of poise and presence from such a young player was so uncommon that it blew away everyone watching. It was also the main reason why Stewart felt comfortable enough to do something with Arch that neither Eli nor Peyton had done in their day. Arch became the first freshman quarterback to start Newman's season opener in over 40 years. Until that point, his family had tried their best to keep him out of the spotlight and let him have a normal childhood. But once he was named QB1, everything changed. That year, Manning exploded onto the scene, throwing for nearly 2,500 yards and 34 touchdowns on his way to being named MaxPrep's National Freshman of the Year. There was no hiding from the media anymore. Everyone wanted to hear what he had to say. After that season, Sports Illustrated featured him in an article, an honor reserved only for the brightest and hottest prospects. But the media weren't the only ones desperate to get close to the young prodigy. College coaches began to fantasize about Manning one day leading their program. Every school in the nation was suddenly interested in him. Newman's coach, Nelson Stewart, who was also the coach when Odell Beckham Jr. was there, said this about Arch's recruitment frenzy. "I was so blessed to coach Odell Beckham, and I thought that was crazy. I had no idea." At the time, Manning was 6'2", 180 pounds, and still growing. The sky was the limit in terms of what he could eventually become. With the high school football world now revolving around this rising sophomore, some of Newman's games started being nationally televised. Their games became a complete circus, with Manning serving as the main attraction. Before and after games, random people of all ages would approach him asking for pictures. They had no shame. One time, 2 grown men even posed as working photographers just to share a sideline with Manning before being escorted off the field. For almost any high school sophomore, these distractions would be too much to handle. But Manning wasn't like most kids his age. He didn't spend time on social media, play video games, or watch TV. All Manning really cared about was playing football and spending time with his friends and family. His coach, Nelson Stewart, said, "The biggest thing is Arch is such a good kid. He's really handled it with a great deal of maturity." Staying humble and focused, Manning put together a special sophomore season. He threw for just under 2,000 passing yards and 21 touchdowns, while adding 8 more rushing scores. Despite being named to the MaxPrep Sophomore All-American team, he still wasn't satisfied. One thing that separates good quarterbacks from great ones is their ability to study film, and Manning couldn't get enough of it. Most high school players care more about making highlight reels than breaking down film. But Manning fell in love with the process. So much so that his dedication to film study blew away Texas's coaching staff during his recruiting visit. Texas head coach Steve Sarkisian recalled how Manning accidentally left his notebook behind after a film session. When someone found it and gave it to Sarkisian, he was stunned by how detailed it was. Sarkisian called Stewart, saying, "It took our breath away. It was staggering how much information he was writing down." Sarkisian continued, "I just want you to know, I've been doing this for a long time, and I've worked with a lot of quarterbacks. Even if I never get to coach this kid, the fact that I got to work with him today was phenomenal. Makes it all worth it." That's the kind of impression Manning had on people. After years of being compared to Eli and Peyton, Arch finally left his own legacy as a senior. In a single game that season, Arch broke Newman's records for career passing yards and touchdowns, records previously held by his two uncles. He finished high school with 8,599 passing yards, over 1,000 more than Eli, and 115 touchdowns, 22 more than Peyton. Now, he's heading to Texas, where he faces unreal expectations. Not everybody is sold on him just yet. Some people believe he needs to prove himself against elite competition before they buy into the hype. But none of this uncertainty has stopped Manning from having the highest NIL valuation of any high school or college player, $3.5 million before playing a single snap. Now it's time for him to prove he's worth every penny. As Sarkisian said, there's not a throw he can't make. He's got the desire, the competitiveness, and the work ethic needed to be great. Only time will tell whether Arch Manning is truly the next great Manning quarterback, or if he was just a product of his last name.